CNN's Sunlen Sirfati is on Capitol Hill for us, where there are major protests ongoing. Sunlen, what's going on there?
Well, Jake, this is a major, loud, very vocal group of protesters here in the Hart Senate office building. This is a Senate office building that many key senators have their offices. We can see, and you see in the shot behind me, many office workers looking out of their windows down to the protests below. They are protesting against Brett Kavanaugh. A lot of them chanting, Brett Kavanaugh has got to go. They have signs saying, believe the survivors. So certainly a dramatic moment here with the protests that have really, in large part, colored his whole consideration up here on Capitol Hill. That aside, this story will end in the math, and that is where Republicans up here on Capitol Hill feel very confident tonight. Their mood is very upbeat, especially after those comments by Senator Collins, Senator Flake. Republicans very happy with the tone, saying it gives us a key window into their mindset, likely one day before this vote.
The whole thing is a sham.
With tensions on Capitol Hill boiling over as Brett Kavanaugh's fate hangs in the balance.
Why don't we dunk him in water and see if he floats?
Significant new reactions coming from two key senators after viewing the FBI report today. Senator Susan Collins telling CNN it appears to be a very thorough investigation, adding, "I've not yet finished going through all the materials." Senator Jeff Flake saying the report showed no additional corroborating information. Neither senator revealing yet how they will vote, but their words boosting the confidence among Republicans today.
There's absolutely zero corroboration to any of these allegations. I think obviously it makes people feel really good coming out of there.
Collins and Flake are two of the four senators who now hold Kavanaugh's future in their hands, after Senator Heidi Heitkamp, a key red state Democrat, told CNN affiliate WDAY,
"I will be voting no on Judge Kavanaugh."
Adding to the drama of the moment,
answer a couple questions.
A highly choreographed viewing of the tightly guarded FBI report, with senators shuffling in and out of this secure location to view the sole copy of the FBI's findings privately, emerging afterwards and taking partisan sides. Republicans saying the report shows no corroboration of the sexual misconduct allegations against Kavanaugh.
When the noise fades, when the uncorroborated mud washes away, what's left is the distinguished nominee who stands before us.
And Democrats taking issue with the investigation itself.
This is wholly unacceptable. It is a truncated, curtailed, not even a halfway effort to interview the relevant people.
Saying it was not extensive enough, especially without interviewing Kavanaugh and the first accuser, Professor Christine Blasey Ford.
The most notable part of this report is what's not in it. It looks to be a product of an incomplete investigation that was limited, perhaps by the White House. I don't know.
Senators have the day on Capitol Hill to finish reading the report, but then it's decision time.
It's time for women to woman up and men to man up, and let's be senators and let's start voting.
And I want to take you back to live pictures here outside the Senate Hart office building, where we see actress Amy Schumer being arrested in the midst of these protests, among many other protesters, certainly speaking to the passion of the moment up here on Capitol Hill. Tomorrow, though, Jake, will be the crucial moment for Brett Kavanaugh. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has scheduled a cloture vote. That means that every senator here will have to say yes or no on Brett Kavanaugh. And if he continues, that means a final confirmation vote on Saturday. Jake.
All right, Sunlen Sirfati at the Hart Senate office building. Let's talk about with our experts. Senator Santorum, an interesting argument this morning from Andrew Napolitano, the judge on Fox News, talking about the investigation. I want to get your reaction.
I was disappointed that they didn't interview Judge Kavanaugh and Dr. Ford and a few more people, because now the people that don't want Judge Kavanaugh confirmed, whether they don't want him confirmed because of a perception that he's ideologically against them or because they really believe the allegations against him, now have more ammunition and more doubt to say, why was the FBI held back? Was the FBI used as a political instrument yet again? Why weren't they just allowed to interview whoever they wanted, including the two principals, Judge Kavanaugh and Dr. Ford? Those allegations are going to stick.
Your response?
I think the optics would have been better had they interviewed them. I don't know for a fact, maybe you do, whether they were told they could not. But I think what the FBI did was say that Christine Blasey Ford came forward and said, this is all the information. She was asked, is there anything else that you want to tell us? And she said, no, I've told you everything. So what else could they find out? If she said that she told them everything, there really isn't much more to find out. And certainly Judge Kavanaugh, same thing. I mean, he's been questioned repeatedly. So I think it's very likely the FBI just said there really isn't any reason for us. Let's look to see what kind of corroboration each has for their own story. And that's what you got in this report.
Kirsten, you've been very critical of the FBI report. You don't think it's legit?
No, it's not legit. You don't have a report where people aren't, where you have someone like Debbie Ramirez saying that there are 20 people that she has identified who could corroborate her story, and they don't talk to any of them. You know, when you have people who are reaching out to the FBI and they can't even get through their, like, sending through, like, the website, who say that they have information and they're not being responded to. So I think that, you know, the whole setup of this situation has been, if you want an FBI investigation, you're smearing a good man. I mean, that literally is what it is. And it's just, that's not what's happening. Basically, what Republicans are saying is either you just accept what he's saying and don't question it, or you're smearing him and trying to ruin his life, versus saying, there's a credible allegation. I think there's two very credible allegations against this person. Let's do a real FBI investigation, and let's find out what happened, both for the women who made the accusations and, frankly, for Judge Kavanaugh. I mean, if you can have a real investigation where people could clear his name, that would be very important. And now what we're left with is really a sham investigation that makes people feel like this was a setup. You know, that basically you were told to not investigate people who could corroborate.
You say there were two credible allegations. I think that's very debatable. First of all, Blasey Ford's allegation itself had problems in that there's no corroboration. All of the people that she recommended.
Let's define our terms right now.
Okay.
There's no first-hand corroboration.
Yeah. Sexual assaults don't have witnesses.
But I'm just saying there's no first-hand corroboration.
So to contrast it with the case, let me finish. To contrast it with the case of Judge Moore, when his accusers said, you know, he did this. Here's my yearbook that he signed. Here's the person I told at the time who will corroborate that, yes, at the time I told them. It doesn't mean that Blasey Ford is lying. It just means there's no independent.
Dr. Ford's lawyers sent a letter, which they released publicly today, that they offered 6 people that corroborated this incident well prior to his nomination.
But not
it does not matter. It does not matter in sexual assault cases.
The people she named all said it didn't happen. There was no.
First of all, that's not true. Nobody said it didn't happen.
They said they don't recall what happened.
The people that she named
were not true.
The people that she named at the party said, except with the exception of Kavanaugh and Mark Judge, that they have no memory or recollection of it happening. In terms of
and her best friend said she never recalled ever meeting Kavanaugh.
You're just wrong. There's two separate issues. One is whether she's telling the truth, and the people in her life who she told this story to well before there was ever a nomination. That is
but
what
not
we
well
call.
Before he was a national figure.
Finish talking.
But not
well before there was ever any public assault allegations. That is very, very important in sexual assault and sexual harassment cases. Whether you have corroboration, whether you've told someone about this prior to it becoming public. And she's given the name of 6 people who she told prior to it becoming public. And the FBI chose not to use it. And the reason this matters is because senators are using this talking point. There's no corroborating evidence. But in fact, there are corroborating witnesses who should be talked to by the FBI.
I think what they mean is there's no, I agree that they should be precise, no contemporaneous corroborating evidence, nothing at the time.
Does not happen that way.
And, well, sometimes it does.
But that's not even right, Jake. I mean, at the time, people being told about it at the time is corroborating evidence. I mean, there are multiple people who have come out who said they remember.
So since you mentioned Debbie Ramirez,
I actually would love to finish a sentence without being interrupted.
You interrupted.
No, really, this is what's been going on the whole time, which is if you guys have such a great case, let other people make their case and stop yelling at them and stop talking over them.
Okay. Can we talk about the politics of this for 1 second? Because right now we have 4 undecided senators, and Kavanaugh's fate lies with them. Joe Manchin, the one Democrat on this list from West Virginia, he's up for re-election this year. Susan Collins of Maine, Jeff Flake of Arizona, who's retiring, and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. We're getting signals from Collins and Flake. They're saying this investigation, whatever other people think of it, it seems comprehensive, it seems sufficient. Do you think ultimately this all means Kavanaugh will be confirmed?
I do. I think actually that the FBI investigation was undertaken exactly for those 4 senators, to satisfy them. And the idea that it actually should have been something that was for the whole country. And by the way, I don't have a side. I'm just evaluating the evidence as I see it, unlike like 99% of the country, which seems to have taken sides. But you know, the fact is, those senators now need their fig leaf to be able to say, yes, I saw it and it wasn't persuasive.